Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner who has a product, a service, or a message that you believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind-the-scenes look into the real-world marketing and networking tactics and strategies for getting what you have in front of you to a lot more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and now let's get started. So welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Network Marketing Made Simple. Super excited about today's episode for a number of reasons. Number one, my guest, Terri Watkins, is an absolute genius and ninja, so to speak, in helping people get seen online. And we're going to talk about that. But Terri and I actually connected through one of my favorite outlets. And for anyone that's listening to this that is a podcaster or would like to get on other podcasts, matchmaker.fm is the way that I was on Terri's podcast a few months ago. And the way that I said it to her, it's like the Tinder for podcasters, because it is. It connects you with podcasters that are looking for guests, pod swaps. And it was interesting. The creator of the program reached out to me on LinkedIn, funny enough, and said, you know, I see you're a podcaster. You would love the platform. And I implemented Matchmaker into my podcast as far as getting guests and getting on podcast in 2020. And it truly was a game changer. And that's how Terri and I actually connected. And that's how we are here today. And finally, when I have other entrepreneurs on here that really focus on getting seen online, I think it's very appropriate to be talking about this now in 2021, where I think everyone thought, 2020 is a wash. It's going to be a little bit crazy. We're going to pivot, but we're starting out 2021 the way that 2020 ended. And we're going to talk about some of those things. So with all that being said, Terri, welcome to today's episode.
Thank you so much, Scott, for having me here. It's an honor and a privilege to be with you among your guests and your listeners today. So I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. And great to have you. So before we get into all of those things, how to be seen online and, the pivots that you and I both had to make being online business professionals in 2020, tell the audience that is not familiar with you as far as an individual, as Terri Watkins, but also SpinFrogs, how actually your entrepreneurial journey began, which put you on this path that you're now currently on.
Well, how the entrepreneurial journey began is kind of a long story, actually. My parents were business people when I was a child growing up. So I saw mom and dad work full-time jobs and then also have a side business, and saw them work that side business, attend conferences, travel for continuing education. We didn't listen to music except for on Saturdays. The rest of the week, we listened to inspirational, influential podcasts. Back then, it was tapes. It was conferences that they had attended where they had speakers like Les Brown and Zig Ziglar. I grew up listening to these people. So I truly believe my entrepreneurial journey began when I was 6. And I started tuning into all of that material that my parents were doing for themselves to better themselves as entrepreneurs. When did I start SpinFrogs, though, was 3 years ago. In June of 2017 is when I started SpinFrogs. And SpinFrogs is my second iteration into business ownership. The first one, I ended up rolling into a larger agency and then ended up not working out very well. So I went to work for somebody else. And then I decided that that wasn't a good fit and it was time to come back to being an entrepreneur. So I feel like the path to entrepreneurial is always it follows a similar path to success, right? It's not a straight line. It kind of zigs and zags all over the place. That's kind of how my journey began.
So I love that you said that, because I've said this before and I've talked about it, that everyone thinks entrepreneurship is a straight line where you jump in, you create a business, you have a product, you have a service, and people just come out of the woodwork wanting to work with you and give you money. And it's just not that simple. It's I don't like using the word grind, because grind sometimes has a negative connotation to it because it seems forced. But what I will say is that entrepreneurship is not easy, but when you are super consistent, you are super focused, and you're very clear on what you want to achieve, you start enjoying every single step of the journey along the way much more. So, but here's my big question with what you just shared. Starting as an entrepreneur, going to the business world, coming back to entrepreneurship, getting out of entrepreneurship and then getting back in. What was one of the greatest lessons that you learned about yourself that actually led you to saying, you know what? I think I'm psychologically unemployable and I need to go out on my own and do this. So what was that moment for you, or what was that specific thing that you learned along that way that got you back on the path?
Yeah, great question. So I think specifically for me, it was, you get into an organization and they have a way of doing things, but for you, you feel like you're wasting a tremendous amount of time and you have the faster solution, but no, it's like you're screaming in the middle of a room and nobody hears you. And that was okay. So if they're not willing to implement change to save time, which actually would create more revenue for them, then this isn't a good fit for me anymore. And if what I actually can bring to the table is solutions for people, then maybe my solutions aren't something that need to be given to one business. Maybe it's something I can give to a lot of businesses, and I can do it in a lot of different ways. So maybe I'm just not fit for sitting behind a desk and taking orders from somebody else. Maybe I really do need to tap into what is my dream, what is my purpose, and how can I take this beautiful mind of being able to find these solutions and these creative strategies and apply it in a variety of different ways. And that's really what was the breaking point or changing point, I guess, for me to come back.
And that's interesting because you are not the first person to start in entrepreneurship, leave entrepreneurship, and come back to entrepreneurship. But what I want to ask you is this: what about the people that start in entrepreneurship and leave, but they never come back?
Mm.
What and they're unfulfilled. They start working for someone and they know deep down inside, in their heart, in their guts, that they need to do what they love doing, and it's not working for someone else, but they're afraid, they're scared. Entrepreneurship it's a very unknown industry. It's like, literally, I remember Steve Harvey did a YouTube video once where he said it's entrepreneurship and going out on your own is jumping off a cliff with no parachute. And you're going to just get bumps and scrapes along the way and broken bones and scars. But why is it that there are it's that camp of people that started in entrepreneurship, left and went into business for someone else and worked for them, and every day since they made that decision, they're kicking themselves and they wish they would just go back? But what is really holding them back from really leaning into growing something of their own, which inevitably led you to coming back to entrepreneurship?
Yeah. I think it's a couple of things. I know for some people, I think it is a fear. It's a deep fear. And I think Steve is the same one who said, yeah, you'll get bumps and bruises on the way down, but you're also going to build your own parachute or your own hang glider. And that's really what you do in entrepreneurship. You just kind of build it as you go. And for some people, that fear of the unknown, I would rather be miserable in the fear, in the misery that I know, than be miserable in the fear of the unknown. And so that keeps people where they are. And also, it is a lie. It's a fallacy that we tell ourselves as humans, that to work for somebody else is to have stability, and to work for somebody else is normal. It's what normal people do. So it's what I ought to do because that is what is normal. And so if I am a normal person, then I should go to work for somebody else and find ways to be happy there. And I think what we have to realize is you don't have to jump out of your full-time job into the great unknown, square one with nothing. You build it on the side. You have your full-time job, you work your full-time job, you check that at the door, and then you pick up your side hustle and you let it be your side hustle until your side hustle makes more money than your full-time job, and you walk away. You walk away from it. And then your full-time job is your side hustle. You get to do what you love. And this allows you to have a safety net, really, that other entrepreneurs just don't have.
I could not agree any more. And my wife and I were talking about this a few months ago, that you see so many network marketers, you see a lot of business coaches, you see a lot of online business owners, and you see them stepping into this new light of business, this new venture. And they have this quote unquote 9 to 5 standing in their way. And here's the fallacy. A job is not a bad thing.
It's not.
It's not a dirty, nasty thing. The way that I reframed it, not for myself because I've never had a job, but for people that do, I say to them, think about your 9 to 5 as your investors. They are your money backers. They are paying you that salary every 2 weeks, getting that direct deposit into your checking or savings account.
They're also your education.
And they're affording you the number one, the education, but also number two, they're affording you the monetary resources to invest in that side business that over time will grow and outproduce what the 9 to 5 is then paying you, which then will allow you to step away and leave. And I think that's an important lesson that I want everyone to really listen to that is listening to this podcast. Just because you have a 9 to 5 right now, it doesn't mean you're not going to succeed. I know so many people that have left too early. They were getting some momentum in their business, but they didn't have the right structure or framework in their business. They quote unquote fire their boss as they're told to do, and they storm out and they throw their papers in the air, and now they're in free enterprise. And then they're like, oh shit, now what? They call it an OSM, an oh shit moment. And I tell people, wait as long as possible. David T.S. Wood, I went to an event of his years ago, and he said, when you should go all in with your side business is when you get to a monetary level that outproduces your full-time income from your regular 9 to 5, 6 consecutive months, because then there's more stability. So this is actually a perfect lead into the next thing that I wanted to talk about with you, which was 2020. And people called it the hashtag year of the pivot, which, yes, people did have to pivot. People did have a pivot, but I also feel that it was the year of taking things that were on the back burner and moving them on the front burner, because now you actually had time to focus on them. So what were some of the biggest lessons that you learned about yourself, about SpinFrogs, about what you're doing now in 2020 that you are now applying to 2021?
The best one that I had to take a hard look, because in February, I went from 10 active clients to 2 active clients in a month, like that. And that's devastating, especially when you are an entrepreneur. I don't have a full-time income. This is my full-time income. So that really had an effect on everything in my life. And I had to ask myself, who am I trying to serve? What is going to support them the most right now? How can I connect with them? How can I support them? How can I provide value to them? What is something I can do that's going to boost them at a time when they might be experiencing the same thing I am, right? And so that was the number one thing for me, was really asking myself that hard question, reaching out to colleagues and associates and entrepreneurs in my local community and asking them what's going to serve them, where are they getting their education, what kind of information are they looking for, what is going to support them right now in this really strange time. And now, mind you, this was March, so everything was just hitting the fan here in the United States. And the resounding answer that came back was, well, Terri, if you could be a fly on the wall for all of the business conversations that you've had over the last 3 years, and somebody let you in on those conversations, wouldn't that have helped you? Wouldn't it have helped you if you were a fly on the wall in somebody else's conversations to like learn from what they were doing? And I said, oh yeah, I would have listened to that. And when I asked other people if they would listen to that, they said, yeah, I'd listen to that. So I started the podcast, Terrific Tips for Business, and I launched it in April. And I've had 85 guests on the show this year, being able to talk about challenges that they have had in business, tips, tools, and habits that they have used to overcome those challenges, because we're all in a different place. We all have different challenges that we've had to face. And somebody somewhere has faced the challenge that you have had to face. And if I could have them on my show and help you through the challenge that you're in right now, wouldn't that save you a lot of time, effort, angry, frustration, energy, and allow you to keep moving forward? Absolutely. So that really was the number one thing, was figuring out, how can I serve my community, my client, and how can I do it in a way that's going to actually also provide a platform for them, provide an opportunity of exposure for them. Because when we're in a place of lack of connection, lack of exposure, what we really need is the opportunity to get that exposure. And so that's really what the podcast performed and allowed for. And that question was the thing. This was the year of the pivot. And that allowed me to bring back something that really could go that extra mile and serve.
So what's your best advice for that person that really struggled with pivoting in 2020? It was just a very chaotic year. They may have lost their job, furloughed. They're, like you shared, they went from having clients to not having clients. What's your best advice for that person now in 2021 to not repeat what they may or may not have done in 2020?
Yeah, great question. I think the thing that really is going to help people the most is, as much as we want to know what's happening in our news and in our world, there's a time and a place, and there's a certain amount that is okay. And beyond that amount, all you're doing is actually impacting your own energy, your own mindset, and it holds you back. So I would say tap into energy sources that will feed you and support you and help you move forward, as opposed to holding you where you are or making you wish you could go backwards, because we're not going backwards. We never move backwards. We only move in reverse when we're pulling out of our driveway. That's the only time we should ever be moving in reverse, because if we move in reverse in any other way, we're missing opportunity. We are holding ourselves back. We're denying ourselves growth, is what happens. And so I would say find positive sources, find positive virtual networking groups, find positive community things, whether it be a church or something that's going to allow you to surround yourself with people who are finding alternative solutions to the problems that our world faces. Because when you surround yourself with that positive energy, two things happen. One, it builds you up. We lift each other up through positivity, not through negativity, through positivity. One. And two, when we're around other people who are positive, our creative juices start to flow. And when our creative juices start to flow, we become problem solvers. And when we do that, we get to create amazing new things. So we think as humans that we're not inventors and we're not creators, but that's just a lie that we tell ourselves to keep us complacent with what we have. The reality is, if we surround ourselves with positivity, our creative juices start to flow, and all of a sudden we'll get an idea and it will overwhelm us. We will want to do nothing but share that idea. So I think it's really important to allow yourself, give yourself the permission of time, give yourself the permission of resources to find and surround yourself with people who will lift you up. Give yourself permission to shut the news off. Tune in once a week. I guarantee you're not going to miss anything in the 5 or 6 days in between that they won't recap on a Saturday. Tune in once a week and make it so that way that is such a minute part of your life that you can focus on the other things that you actually can have an impact on, that can move you forward, that can pull you out of that depression, because now you have people that you can connect with, even if we're connecting just virtually. Virtually is better than no connection at all.
Nothing ever happens in the comfort zone.
Yes.
Nothing. You know, I whenever I do trainings, I always say that everything that people are looking for in life and in business lie in the uncomfortable zone or the unknown zone. You know, prosperity, peace, abundance, ease, impact, influence, all those things lie in the unknown and uncomfortable zone because, like you said, as human beings, we're pre-programmed physiologically to do what's comfortable, because then when we do something that's uncomfortable, even though we're not barbarians anymore, so to speak, we're not cavemen and cavewomen running around, that's the fight or flight of the natural physiological makeup of who we are. So the natural thing to do is when something's uncomfortable, it's that fight or flight. But the more that you lean into that fight or flight, the more that you get uncomfortable, the more you're going to grow. And I always think about when we were kids, you know, also being a father, it's so empowering to see children want to learn something new, want to grow, want to expand, want to excel. And when adults kind of tap back into that internal child resource that we all have, you start doing personal development, you start reading books, you start listening to podcasts, you start spending time with influential and positive people, and it starts to create this atmosphere and environment of growth and expansion, and that's where all the magic happens. But the other big thing that I want to talk about with you is your zone of genius, which is showing up and being seen online, because that statement in itself, people are like, well, how the hell do I do that? Because it's so oversaturated. Everyone's selling this, everyone's doing that. But there are very genuine and authentic ways to do that. And I know that you have 3 specific ways of how entrepreneurs can show up better online. And what are those 3 ways and how can people start applying them?
Excellent question. So, one of the things that we really need to think about if we're an entrepreneur, if we're doing a side hustle, if we're part of a network marketing company, whatever it is that you're doing that you're passionate about, it's wonderful that you have found something you're passionate about. You have to remember, though, that the people that you're wanting to serve, the people you're wanting to bring this item or product to, are a client, and they don't know anything about your industry. They don't know anything about your product, your service, or you. So, what we have to do in our first step is really identify what matters most to our client about that product, service, and industry. What do they need to know about that? And good places to look would be like Reddit. Reddit is an anonymous forum. So, if you're about to get into an industry, or if you're thinking about an industry, then you will want to check Reddit to see what questions are people asking. What do they want to know? And tap into that. Maybe do videos about that. Maybe create social media blog posts about that. And I apologize. My dog is about to bark at something. Come on. Maybe you can cut that part out. So we want to leverage these tools where our clients or prospects are hanging out. So Reddit's a place. Quora is another great place. It's a forum where people post questions. These are 2 free resources that we can use to tap into what are people asking as it relates to a specific industry, and figure out ways that we can creatively answer those questions while letting people into our zone of genius, letting them see us for who we are. Because at the end of the day, there are only so many industries. There are only so many products. There are only so many services. And even if we do create a new one, well, if we create a new one, then we have the whole battle of let me teach somebody about this whole new one that doesn't even exist anymore, right? But if we're tapping into a marketplace that already exists, well, why us? Why are they going to work with Scott? Or why are they going to work with Terri? They're going to work with us because of the value that we bring, because of the way that we answer those questions, because of our methodology for how we do it. So that's step number 1. Identify what matters most to your client or prospective client about your industry. Figure out ways to answer that question. Step number 2 is, why do you care? This is a passion for you. This is something that you're excited about. Why are you excited about it? Why do you care? Because when we create content that shows people that we care about them, then they will care about what we share. Let me say that again. We create content that shows people that we care, they will care about what we share. So we have to show them why we care. Why do you give a crap about that industry? And why do you think your customers give a crap about that industry, right? And a useful tool for this is the book Start With Why by Simon Sinek. It helps us tap into our why, which gets really deep into that. And it's so good at that because our why should make us cry. If it doesn't make us cry, it's not strong enough. It has to be something that will get you out of bed when you hurt. It has to be something that will get you out of bed when you're exhausted. It has to be something that will get you out of bed when it's cold outside. Because at the end of the day, if it doesn't move you emotionally, it is not going to move you physically, and it's not going to be strong enough to let somebody else know you care. So we have to connect to that why. And then the third piece is be newsworthy. We have to find ways to let our local media know what we're doing. And we have to do it in a non-boastful way, if that makes sense. We have to do it in a way that feels authentic and genuine, because that's really the key. I think you said it before, Scott. Our radar is really high right now. Our bullshit meter is off the charts. So if we do something that we're trying, it feels like we're stretching and trying to get news, yeah, your news is not going to pick it up. They're not going to pick it up. And even if they did, your local community isn't going to give a crap. It has to be something that is truly meaningful that you're doing. So like right now, while we're recording this, it's holiday season. So organizations that partner up with Toys for Tots, those organizations that wrote a press release about it, well, they're going to get recognition in the news because that's a charitable cause to help kids have a good Christmas, right? Does that make sense for every organization? No, it doesn't. But it does make sense for organizations that are serving children, right? So think about nonprofit organizations that serve your ideal client, but in a different way than what you do. And see if there's a way that you can support them. Maybe you become a donation center. Maybe you donate resources financially. Maybe you get a volunteer group together of your best clients or your strategic partners. You make branded shirts so you can get a photo op while you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. And you write a press release and you send it to the media and let them know, look, we care about our community. This is what we're doing to support our community. Support us because we support you, right? And that's a way for us to be newsworthy. And there's a couple of resources here that really helped me along this journey. One of them is called The Culture of Good by Ryan Goldsmith and Scott McCarthy. That is a wonderful book that talks about the journey of finding a cause, a mission, an organization that you can rally behind as an entire team, not just a single individual. And then the other one is Accessing the Media by Jill Osborne. Accessing the Media talks about how you can create press releases to get picked up so that they don't just hit inboxes and nothing happens with them. And that would be my 3 steps for how can you start to stand out, because now you're using your voice, your unique voice, to share your unique message in your own unique way. You're not doing what somebody else has done, because everybody's nonprofit is different. Everybody's way they're serving that nonprofit is different. Everybody's why is different. Everybody's way of communicating that why is different. And this allows you to attract the people who love what you have to say, because your people are out there looking for you. They just can't find you yet.
No, I love that. And I'll throw in one additional resource for you guys that I use on occasion. It's called Haro, Haro, which is Help a Reporter Out. And if you sign up for it, it's free. They will email you queries every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, looking for experts in specific publications. People have got into the Huffington Post that way, New York Times, Newsweek, like big publications. So reporters are always looking for thought leaders and people to help them. So I just want to add that. And Terri, amazing 3-step process and tips for people to be seen more on a very overcrowded social media world that we're living in. So before we start to close down here, tell the audience a little bit about SpinFrogs and actually what kind of clients you serve and how you help them.
Sure. So SpinFrogs is a forensic marketing agency. And what I do is operate as a marketing translator for business owners who are really good at what they do and have no idea how to market themselves. And that's cool. I operate as your translator. I come in as your back pocket, a support team that comes in and helps you to determine where do you want to be and how do you want to be there. And let's figure out the who, where, when, what, and why of it. So that way you can stay focused on what you do best, what you're passionate about. That's what matters. And unlike other agencies, I am not a hammer looking for a nail. I don't have a one size fits all solution. I have one-on-one programs, coaching programs that we work together, and I report directly to the business owner. I basically operate as your chief marketing officer for your organization remotely. I have done with you programs where together we go through the process. It's a 12-week cycle. At the end of 12 weeks, you have 12 months worth of clarity of what to say, where to say it, when to say it, how to say it, so that you can show up as your best, authentic, genuine self with the people that you want to serve, where they are. And that really translates into dollars and cents revenue for your business at the end of the day. And then the third way that I support people is through my DIY course. So if you are a solopreneur, you are interested in getting your hands dirty, you want to do it yourself, maybe you don't have financial capital right now. We all always have 2 things to spend. We have money or we have time. So if you are the business owner who doesn't have the money, but you have the time, then the DIY course is for you. And it walks you through how to capitalize your search engine optimization. Because SEO, we have to play the Google game in order to get the eyeballs. Getting the eyeballs is the first step. Winning the conversion is the next part of the puzzle. But we have to get the eyeballs first. So the DIY course is all about how do you get the eyeballs? How do you leverage advertising? How do you leverage on-site and off-site search engine optimization? How do you leverage keyword research? And that is a do it at your own pace kind of class that never expires. It's pre-recorded. We drop bonus materials anytime there's an update with Google. We drop that in the course as well. So it's always being updated, but it's a great way to get in and get an understanding of what's involved. Because a lot of times when somebody is ready to start getting found online, they turn to search engine optimization and then they get frustrated with how expensive it is. So this really allows them to get your feet wet, figure out what's involved in it, so that you can understand and appreciate all of the work that your SEO team goes through on a monthly basis to help you stay ranking and stay top of mind in the eyes of Google. Because visibility plus credibility equals profitability in every aspect of our business, not just in networking.
I love that. And for the audience that's listening, 2 things. Number one, I could not highly recommend Terri and SpinFrogs anymore. All the information about how SpinFrogs works and how her programs work will be in the show notes and in the description of this episode. So I highly encourage you guys to check her out. And number two, I'll also have information about her podcast, which I was a guest on. I will backlink our episode on there so you can hear me on her show. And she's just a wealth of knowledge, inspiration, but also, as you can tell, tactful ways of how to build a business. And that's why her and I connected so well, because we have nothing to hide. We only have things to share. And that is what really makes a great business. So Terri, number one, thank you so much for being here. And number two, final question, what does success truly mean to you?
Ooh, that's such a good question. Man, you've had some good ones today. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to be here to share with your associates, your listening audience. I really appreciate the opportunity. Success to me means everybody wins all the time. I truly believe that there doesn't have to be a loser to have a winner. And if you are an organization who is looking for the win, you will find it. And it will be better than you can ever imagine. So finding the multiple win. And for me, it's always like, if I can find a 5-way win, that's what I'm looking for. I want my client to win. I want their clients to win. I want my community to win. I want to win. And I think when we all win together, and the whole organization, the whole community becomes a better place. So always look for the win. And when you do, your relationships will be stronger and deeper. Your business will grow faster. You'll be much more profitable, and you'll be able to leave a legacy that you can truly be proud of.
Could not agree more. And I feel that we can continue talking for another hour or so, but I do want to respect the listeners' time. And I think I may have to have you back on later this year so we can catch up again. So Terri, thank you again so much for being here. Wealth of knowledge and just a true servant leader to the entrepreneurial industry. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you again very much for having me. I really appreciate it. And until next time, everybody, connect with me at SpinFrogs.
Absolutely. All that information will be in there. So please connect with Terri and really check out everything that she has going on. And as always, leave a rating and review on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you are listening to. I want to make this podcast the best it can be. And with your help, we can do that together. So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you so much again for checking out today's episode. And if you are listening through iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are, please leave me a rating and review. Let me know what you loved, what you would like to see improved, or ideas you have for future episodes. And if you are interested in taking your business to the next level, don't hesitate to go to my website, www.scottaaron.net, where you can schedule a free discovery call with me, where I can learn more about you, your business, what you're struggling with, and how we can work together. And don't forget to check out my wife, Nancy, and mine, our free community on Facebook called LinkedIn Leads for Life. We would love to see you in there. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you, everyone, for your support. Grateful for each and every one of you.